Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Hey, welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. This week, we're taking a fun dive into the world of technology and uncovering our true texting ages, because apparently punctuation might be aging us more than we originally thought. How are y'all this week?
Apparently, I'm a grammar Nazi.
I mean, yes, absolutely, that's the case.
Not where I would have gone for him, not the one who usually gets me on grammar.
I mean, doesn't
I
mean that he's not thinking it and quietly judging you on the other end of the phone.
This is true.
I am the one who earlier this week sent a very lengthy paragraph detailing my zealous use of commas and all of the different kinds of commas I use.
Yes,
you did.
Yes.
I really regretted bringing that up, by the way.
Yes, I also regretted engaging in that conversation. I threw out the Stalin and JFK meme about the Oxford comma, and I'm sorry. Okay, so Mom found a quiz on CNN about what is your texting age. So I wanted to sit down and kind of take that with you guys and chat through what everything means, how does it work, and why the heck do Gen Zers not use punctuation? I am so confused by that. So you guys ready to hop in?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get after it.
How would getting a message like this from your boss make you feel? Thanks. That was so helpful. Smiley face.
Totally fine. Thanks for appreciating my work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not annoyed or worried.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
I don't understand how you could interpret that any other way. Maybe that's just like a failing of my understanding, but I don't understand how. I mean, maybe there could be some additional context, but that context by itself, I don't know how you could interpret it any other way.
I mean, they had the smiley face emoji, and they said that was helpful, and they said thank you. I don't know how you would take that any other way besides positively. I don't know where else you could go.
I'm not going to use a smiley face passive aggressively, personally.
No. No. And who would? Like, thanks. That was so helpful. Smiley face. And now I'm concerned.
Maybe if it was just thanks, period, then it would be like, okay, now we don't have as many context clues. This could be something different. This could be passive aggressive, but with the message that it gives you on this quiz, I don't see how you could interpret it any other way.
Yeah, it feels like a 3 strikes and you're an optimist to me. It was helpful, you have the thank you and the gratitude, and you have a positive emoji. I'm not sure how you would go any other way.
Yeah.
Come on, out with it.
No, I'm right with you. I mean, I guess my brain kind of went, I absolutely hate to get an email that just says thanks.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think if I would feel the same way. And I don't feel the same way about a text message, because that way I know you've connected with it and you've said something to me. So I wouldn't be, but even though I hate the emails that are just a response of thanks. So that's where I was going.
Would you feel that same way if it was thanks smiley face? I get it's a professional setting, so emojis may not be as prevalent, but
no, I think it's a waste of energy to send an email that says thanks in response to something.
Yeah, I usually need something more to go on. Like, I might even go into Teams and message you individually, not on that email chain, and say thank you. But I will usually, in that message, to avoid sending it as an email, I will say, hey, I saw your reply about XYZ. Thanks for your follow-up.
I think I'm more inclined to say something like, I would probably say, you're a rock star, or I appreciate you so much for doing that. I'm not just going to say thanks.
Yeah. You're an angel is one of my go-tos, or you're the man is one of my go-tos, and not just thanks, period.
Okay, hold on. I have
I've never
never gotten
gotten
a
one.
"you're an angel."
Me either. What do you think
What
that
does that
means?
says about us?
You guys are
Suck at life.
my coworkers that you guys
Well,
already
now
know
my
that
life goal is to get a "you're an angel" from Cole.
I'm just thinking.
You're an
So
angel. I did not see that coming from you.
No, I didn't either, especially as a standard. And does it matter, male or female?
I mean, it depends on the context. Typically, I've sent "you're an angel" to both. Generally, it's probably towards a lady, and "you're the man" is probably towards a dude.
Okay.
But like, I'm not gonna go to Callie and be like, "you're the man." It just doesn't make sense.
I'm also not an angel, so got something to work towards. Okay. Your coworker just sent you a hilarious message. How do you respond?
It depends on the level of hilarity, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
that's one thing that this particular question misses. Like, if it's really, really funny, then it's going to be the emoji crying laughing.
Yes.
If it's sort of funny, it's going to be lol, lol.
Yes.
If it's really funny, but like something that they probably shouldn't be sending through work channels, it's going to be a skull emoji.
Oh.
Oh.
I would never use a skull emoji, but I probably don't really say that. Oh my God, I am dead. I don't think I say that either.
I would never use a skull emoji. That's weird to me.
Yeah. LOL is, oh, that was kind of funny. Like it didn't actually make me laugh out loud, but that's the kind of bare minimum for laughing response. And then the crying laughing emojis, I'm actually laughing. But if I really, really think it's funny, I'm going to type out bah ha 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 6, 7 times. And all caps is a big deal. I'm like literally falling on the floor, laughing, crying. I mean,
I just want to say I get that a lot.
you do. You're a funny girl.
I'm a funny girl.
You are a funny girl. But I mean, would either of you ever receive this message, this hilarious message from your coworker, and then get up or go and call them to address it more quote unquote in person?
No.
It depends. Like, there are some interactions that I will have like through a corporate channel. And then depending on who it is, I've developed a bit of a feel for what I can get away with certain people.
Sure.
And like how unprofessional I may be able to behave. And so like, if it's with someone who I don't have that level of comfort with, then I'm probably just going to leave it at that. But if it's like my little homie that we're pretty good buddies, then I may send him a text message as a follow-up outside of a corporate channel.
Right. Okay. I can follow you there. I don't know that it's specifically like personal versus professional, but I'm going to respond to you in the text message, however, like with my LOL because it was kind of funny, or with my crying laughing, or with my ha 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 ha. And the longer it is, the funnier it is, just for the record. I'm not going to seek you out, but the next time I see you, I might say, oh, that thing that you said, that was so funny, but I'm not going to get up and go out of my way to come and tell you how funny it was.
Yeah.
No, we did that via a message.
Yeah.
But
what's the point of texting if you're going to get up and walk over there?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm an extrovert with the best of them, but also like, leave me alone. Okay.
That's my child.
Yeah, well, I like what I like when I like it. I like to be in control of these things. Okay. So how do you choose which emojis to include in a text message? Do you select the emojis that are suggested by your phone? And you often use more than one. You use emojis sparingly to convey a literal meaning. You use a wide variety of emojis to convey or accentuate the emotional tone of your messages. Or an emoji is almost never literal. I use a variety of emojis to represent feelings and situations, often ironically.
See, I feel like I'm on complete opposite ends of the spectrum because like two of these answers to me are pertinent, but they're the opposite of each other. Like sometimes I will use emojis extremely literally, and sometimes I will use them very ironically.
Can you give me an example of an ironically used emoji?
No.
Okay.
No, I cannot.
So I have a friend, And if you don't get 20 emojis in her message, she's ill. Something's wrong.
Oh, wow.
Now, not a coworker, a friend. And I do not use emojis in that way. I will also say, I wish they kind of had a little note when you're selecting them what they really mean, because I'm not always sure what they mean. You know?
Well,
Your
some of
boomer
them
is
are really
showing.
straightforward and some of them are not.
Exactly. I love watching when they come out with new emojis, or when, they're voting on the new ones. I love that. And I think, oh, I would never think about, I didn't know that's what that one was for. And so I'm
Sometimes it's like,
limited.
I really didn't know what that one was for.
Yeah, that's true too. That's definitely true too.
Oh, gosh.
So
I don't think I
they,
ever exceed 3 emojis in a message.
I would have to be dying laughing, and then you would get like the crying laughing faces.
Yeah.
But
Like-
after if it's more than a 6 emoji requirement, I'm just going to go to a GIF.
Yeah, I'm probably the same way.
Yeah, that's true.
But also,
I prefer GIFs to emojis, honestly.
Even in work situations?
oh, I have for sure been known to send a GIF in an email.
Okay.
Oh, not
Oh,
in
yeah.
an email, no.
Oh,
But
for sure. I will
in
go
a
and
Teams
look it up.
message, 100%.
I love
Oh, yeah.
getting gifts and emails.
I feel like for me, number one, on iPhone, if you use one emoji only, there's no text, then it's pretty big. If you use 3 emojis, it's medium. If you use 1 or text or more than 3, they're small. And so I will kind of rate my level of hilarity or level of emotion based on what is going on and use that many. So if I send you 1 laughing out loud emoji with a crying laughing face, I'm for sure laughing. But I feel like I have a group of 10 or 20 emojis max.
Yeah, I would say the
that
same.
I use. I'm not using an emoji for everything.
Yeah.
And I'm surely not going to say, I need peaches on my shopping list, peach emoji. No, I'm just going to have peaches on my shopping list.
That's not what peach emoji means anyways. So
I mean, also true, but I didn't use the eggplant. So Dad has a friend who they recently found out that he couldn't see the emoji. So he just used a whole bunch of them. And so he would say, oh, sorry, with a winky face or a kissy face or all of these other emojis attached to it. And they're like, do you know what that is? Do you know what that means? And he was like, no, I can't see them. I have no idea.
How do you
I just
not
thought I was
see
supposed
them?
to. I mean, I think you're old. What's your texting age? Ancient.
thank you,
Okay.
Callie. I didn't have to say that one.
I mean, I didn't know how else to say it. But so based on our emoji section, how did you guys kind of land?
I got equally Gen Z, Millennial, and Gen X.
Oh, I am mostly millennial with a dash of Gen X.
I am completely millennial.
Oh, Two Millennials and Mom is the millennial.
How about that?
I love it. Okay. Interesting. So technically, according to this, millennials are more likely to use an emoji to convey emotions, but sometimes attaches a more symbolic meaning to the emoji. Gen X is generally more practical in their use of emojis in technology and less likely to use an emoji. I don't know about baby boomers.
Yeah, I didn't get any boomer emoji use.
Me either.
Because you're 100% a millennial. I like it. Okay, moving on to part 2 of the quiz. This is punctuation.
I think this may be where it went off the rails for me here.
Uh-oh. Great. Okay, there's a traffic jam and your Uber is running late. Which text message do you send?
Options?
Hi. So sorry. Running about 10 minutes late. Traffic is crazy. I am a mess. Shaking my head. That's number 1. You guys, I feel like I should not be acting these out, but I don't know how to get these across any better way. So just deal with it. Number 2, running about 10 minutes late, period. Number 3, hello, Cole. Traffic is crazy and I'm running about 10 minutes late. I'll be there soon. So sorry, Callie. And number 4, traffic is crazy. New ETA, 11 a.m. So sorry.
I'm going to be 1 or 4.
I am
You would
for
never
sure
do
number
1.
4. I would never do 1.
Oh, no. 1's the crazy one. No, 2 or 4.
Yeah, it probably
Okay.
depends on who I'm talking to, but it's gonna, more often than not, it's gonna be 2. But every once in a while, I could see me using 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I'm only ever using 4. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm always using 4 every time.
That's because you're nicer.
Okay. When writing a text message, how do you use periods? This was the one that also just kind of left me scratching my head going, who doesn't use periods?
And why would you not use it on the last one?
I don't have any clue.
I think some of my friends, because I am such an avid user of punctuation, I have a buddy who, I think part of it is that he is trying to do it over like voice to text while he's driving, but he just has random periods all throughout the text message. And I'm just like,
gosh.
I think I know what you're trying to say, but could you try that one more time in English, please?
Yeah.
That's
I'm going to do it just
hilarious.
like I'm writing.
Yeah, same.
Me
I see
too.
no reason not to do that.
I'm even like, if I'm using voice to text, I'll say, hello, period, da 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 da, period. And we'll literally say it out loud to make sure that it gets put in there, because I do not want to send you a run-on sentence. I don't want to read your run-on sentences. I want to have the general idea of where things start and stop, because this could get really crazy and go off the rails fast. Use punctuation, folks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
very important. I do the same thing, Gig, but I will add commas where
Yes.
I think commas should be.
Absolutely, for sure. And I may not be 100% grammatically correct on my comma usage, but it's like 95%.
Yeah, me too.
They're almost always there.
Yeah.
And I'm never, ever going to use an Oxford.
Oh, Oxford comma is a must.
I don't want to go there.
I think that message that I sent y'all earlier this week, Callie, I think it has 2, maybe 3 sentences, and there are
I noticed.
either 11 or 13 commas.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
I was like, he wrote this text message specifically to be able to use as many commas as humanly possible.
Every
just to be a
different
pest.
kind of comma
Oh, I noticed.
is encapsulated within that. Yeah, that was the point. I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, it was, but also you're a real pet.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, next question. In what circumstance do you write something in all caps?
See, this really depends. There are a couple of different use cases for all caps. Like, it could be like, hey, I'm trying to emphasize this word. So in
Yes.
text message, I'm probably going to use all caps in place of italics. But if I'm
Yes.
on a computer, I'm going to use either all caps or italics, depending on what I need in that sentence. Like, I've found myself, like, I've finally learned the hotkey for italics on PC to make it like way easier instead of having to go back and, oh God, my boomer's coming out. But
Oh, God.
But I mean, like, if I'm angry, I'm probably not sending you a text message.
True.
No. Yes, I agree with you.
If I'm angry enough to send you a text message, I'm probably going to call at you and yell at you over the phone.
Oh, nice.
I might, if I'm really emphatic about something, I'm going to do more of I period, am period, mad period. That doesn't mean it'll be capitalized. It might be, depending on how mad I am. But I'm not just sending it to you in caps.
Punctuating every word, it's going to be in all caps.
Okay, I will say, Mom, I can think of one specific text message that you sent like a year ago.
Oh, no.
You were so mad. It was about that medication that you had been using, and then you thought it was poison ivy, but it turned out to be the medication, and it is
The
in
allergy
all
reaction.
caps. It was not the medication. It's not the freaking poison ivy. And the whole thing is in all caps. And I was like, oh, okay. Got it.
I was mad
Not
about
the
that.
poison ivy. You were really mad.
I was really
I'm
mad about
probably
that
not
one.
going to text you in all caps if I'm mad at you individually. If I'm mad at something else, I will probably text you in all caps to complain about it and
Oh,
accentuate
good
that I'm
point.
mad at
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
a
fair.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of have covered this, but I'm also going to use capital letters where capital letters are supposed to be. If I say I am doing something, whether it's in the middle of a sentence or at the start, an I is always going to be capitalized.
That's probably one of my weaknesses when it comes to typing, particularly on a computer, is that I capitalize words that shouldn't be, and then I have to go back and uncapitalize them. It's like weird muscle memory, like important words in a sentence, I end up capitalizing just the first letter. And I'm like, that doesn't need a capital, so I have to go back and change it to lowercase.
Yeah.
You're like sending these subliminal messages with all of
Sort
your
of.
texting. Oh. No, mine's pretty serious. And I'm also, if for whatever reason you send me a there of any kind and it's the wrong there, I am totally judging you.
Yeah.
I
I'll
do it
still
wrong
love
all
you.
the time. Like, I do the same thing. I judge people, and then, like, trying to go fast, I will send the wrong one every time and have to come back and correct myself. I'm like, I know which ones are correct. I know which ones are correct. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure you know, right?
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah. I would
But
do
there are
it.
a couple of people in my life that just leave it, and I'm like, is that because they don't know? Do they not know which one is right? Do I need to help educate them right now?
Yeah, no, I 100% judge people and correct my friends all the time.
That's so funny.
Okay, so what were your results after the punctuation section?
I'm a Gen X with a dash of baby boomer.
Same.
Oh, I am equally millennial, Gen X, and baby boomer. I'm just hanging out right here in the middle, soaking it all up. For Gen X, texters of this oft-overlooked generation are more likely to apply traditional punctuation rules to their messages, as University of Miami management and leadership professor Megan Gerhardt noted in a recent LinkedIn post describing her surprise when her Gen Z students pointed out their feelings about seeing periods at the end of text.
What kind of feelings could you have about a period at the end of a sentence? Like, it's just there to tell you that the sentence is over.
So they have this whole thing about it conveys finality and a little bit of aggression. And so they're like, don't use periods. Yeah, it's just right.
Get over yourself. You're reading into it way more than you need to.
Yeah.
And that's only the last sentence. So if there's 3 sentences, you're going to have periods at 1 and 2, but not at 3, because that's aggressive at 3.
I don't know. I don't get it. Just be right. Be accurate. Like, that's my whole thing.
No savvy.
Yeah.
I do think that I'll be watching now to see who doesn't put the punctuation at the end.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And most likely be judging.
Oh, yeah. There's totally some judgment in here. I'm not even going to pretend that that's not the case. There's for sure judgment. I mean, you probably don't want to text with me. And you now know that I am judging the shit out of you. Do it right or don't do it at all.
Amen, sister.
So baby boomers, when it comes to punctuation, this group is more likely to apply the rules of formal letter writing to their text. Nikki Tonks, a marketing expert who teaches at Weber State University in Utah, says her surveys found baby boomers prefer full sentences in text messages and are less likely to understand shifting nuances of punctuation, which I'm pretty sure we just put on display.
Yeah.
On to our next section, style and etiquette, which I think we have already determined we want it to be accurate and grammatically correct, and that is the etiquette.
Okay.
How would you feel if a romantic partner responded to a text from you by saying K, just the letter, or a thumbs up?
See, this one, there's such a lack of context because, like, in some situations, totally fine. In other situations, like, okay, you're being passive aggressive. What did I do to piss you off? Or like, why are you acting this way?
I feel like coming from a romantic partner, this is aggressive.
But not in every situation. It's like, hey, I'm staying late at work. I'll be there at X time. And if the response is a thumbs up reaction, that just means, okay, saw, heard, understood, got it.
Yeah.
If the message
Your
is
dad sent me one this week. That was a thumbs up. And it was in reply to something that I sent him. And he just said, I got it. I think it was something on the grocery list. Oh, don't forget X. And he just said, thumbs up. I got it.
If it's some like menial task that you're discussing, totally fine. K is a little bit passive aggressive to me sometimes.
K is
But
never not passive aggressive in my book.
I would never.
I think
Why
it depends
wouldn't
on who
you
you're
just
talking
put
to.
okay?
If you put okay, fine.
Why
It's
would
the
you
K
not?
itself.
Yes.
Because you're being passive aggressive.
Okay,
It's
that might be
irritating.
fair. But even the example that they give in this one, looking forward to seeing you at 6, if you got a K, I'd be like, oh, what's your deal? But a thumbs
Yeah.
up, I'm like, okay, they're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could get behind the thumbs up, but there were choices on this question. Very insulted, moderately insulted, slightly insulted, and not at all insulted. And I'm sitting here like I really went through and debated this. I'm like, from my romantic partner, a thumbs up would only be okay if they were in a hurry, and a K is never acceptable. I am absolutely very concerned. So I think I
said
ended up
slightly
putting
insulted.
slightly insulted.
Yeah. Like, because it really depends. The context is important.
I don't disagree. And I mean, if you're doing a good job at communicating with your partner, they know whether or not you're busy or not. And a thumbs up is all that you have to give.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Do a good job communicating with your partners, folks. Okay.
Yeah, you're
Next.
right, though. I don't think there's a situation where K isn't passive aggressive.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Is it different if you're doing, what do you call it, Callie, a tap? If somebody
tap
says
back,
something,
a response.
if
Yeah.
I just hit a tap back for a thumbs up, is that different than responding with a thumbs up in a separate text?
I don't think so. And I'm not a thumbs up texter. I will give you the tap back. I am never going to go dig out the thumbs up emoji.
Yeah, same.
That's what I was thinking too. Your
just more
dad's
efficient.
text was a thumbs up emoji.
I don't know that he is familiar with the use of that feature, though.
Of the tap backs, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll ask.
Okay. Well, while we're on this tap back situation, I think that we need to address the fact that Mom and I both have our keyboards in both English and Spanish because we're doing Duolingo and you have to type all of these things. And so we don't notice it so much, but other people, especially if you happen to be on an Android or something, where it sends that message as Callie liked a message, Callie exclaimed a message. It says it all in Spanish.
Because your tap back is in Spanish, like now that iPhone has moved over to RMS, when you react to something on a regular iPhone keyboard, it shows me that it's a reaction. It doesn't tell me that Callie reacted with whatever emoji. But when you're on your Spanish keyboard, it sends it as a text message in Spanish.
I wonder why.
I mean,
it wants you to know that it wants me to know that you're replying in Spanish.
We get some pretty funny ones, especially from Callie, that are Spanish, and you'll go, "Did you know you're in Spanish?"
You did that when Cole was sending something about the punctuation earlier this week, and it was Mecca exclamado, this portion of it. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like the exclaim one in Spanish. That one was my favorite. Yeah.
Every time one comes across, I'm just like, no habla.
Oh, gosh.
Me either.
Okay. Next question on our quiz. Look at your phone. How many text messages did you send and receive yesterday? If you had to make a ballpark, what would you say?
I would have said greater than 50, but I don't think I got anywhere close to 200.
Yeah, I would say same.
And that's probably a pretty heavy day for me. I have one group chat that is not uncommon for us to do probably 50 to 100 a day, depending on the day. But that's just a running conversation that the three of us are having. That's not individual text message conversations going on all day.
I can't
talk
imagine
to 6 people.
Yeah, I can't imagine ever going over 200.
I mean, I say that I can't really imagine that either, but I'm also old enough to remember when you had a set number of text messages that you could send on your phone plan, and I routinely went over. I've gotten better.
True.
And a much more efficient communicator these days, but still.
And that was like 1,000 text messages, and you could knock it out fast.
I think it was also like 1,000 text messages a month.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's what it
and
was.
it used to break up. If your text message was really long, it would break it up into several text messages.
Absolutely, it would.
Oh, that's funny.
Or you
I've
would run
gotten
out of
much more
space and it
efficient.
would force you to start a new one.
Right, right. So I also said 51 to 200, but I'm curious. Do you include tapbacks to those too?
Yeah.
I do, because like we mentioned a second ago, a thumbs up emoji is the same as a thumbs up tap back. And so I counted those as the same, as the equal weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, last question for style and etiquette. When you send a text message, how quickly do you expect to get a response? They'll
I think it
respond whenever they
depends.
have the chance. I hope to hear back within a few hours. I expect to hear back the same day. If they don't respond within an hour, I'm annoyed or worried.
Not annoyed or worried, but I think I'd probably go with the first one. Whenever they have a chance, they're going to answer me. And I have some friends who don't carry a phone with them as much as I do, or who don't respond that quickly. But I'm not going to be annoyed with them, or they just miss the text.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm not, again, there's some additional context that could change my answer here.
Yeah.
If we're having a back and forth conversation and we're rapidly texting each other and I say something and then you just stop responding, then I'm going to be like, okay, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
but I'm also not going to be like, why aren't you texting me back? It's going to be like, okay, well, I guess they'll get to it when they get to it and we'll continue this later. But also, if I'm trying to have a conversation with someone that is like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z from you, I'm probably not going to have that conversation via text message. I'm going to call you and ask for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And it drives my friends nuts. They hate phone calls. It's hilarious.
You've mentioned that before. I like a phone call. I feel like a phone call definitely means that it's more important. If I need it right now, I'm going to call you. If I would like it eventually, a text message is completely sufficient.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
used
what
to
is
have
your
a
work schedule
coworker.
next week?
Yeah.
You can answer me the next day once you have had an opportunity to look at your calendar. If it's, hey, I'm filling out this application for you, I'm in the store, I need your email address, then I'm probably going to call you and get your email address.
Chop,
Yeah.
chop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have a coworker who was so aggressive in her emails that that third time I would pick up the phone, because she was totally different if you called her on the phone to get an answer than she was in email. And
Probably
so,
wasn't using punctuation correctly, so she couldn't.
no, I think she was. But anyway, she had 3 chances to have a conversation with me on email, and then she got me. And I don't know if she knew that or not, but it definitely, I was escalating really with her aggression. And she just wasn't that way when you got her in person. You could get an answer like that, and she was very sweet about it. But you're thinking, do you know how aggressive you sound? And I think she did. I think she did it on purpose.
Interesting. See, like when I'm writing an email or a message at work, I'm writing it like I would say it to you. So like I'm gonna attempt to punctuate it or emphasize words in a manner that would emphasize it the same way as if I was speaking to you.
Right.
And it can still be misinterpreted, but
Sure.
yes, people kind of make fun of me. Whenever I'm writing something, you can 100% hear my voice in it, because I write exactly the way that I talk. And so even if I go on a tangent, it'll be there in parentheses, like, oh, just by the way, here's the extra context that you need, or what I wanted to add to this.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I'm also a fervent user of ellipses all the time.
Baby boomer.
Speaking of, so for style and etiquette, I'm equally a millennial, Gen X, and baby boomer.
Oh, I'm mostly millennial with a dash of baby boomer.
Interesting.
Mostly Gen X with a dash of millennial in my etiquette.
I feel like, I was going to say, I feel like that makes sense, but then I started thinking about it, and does it? But let's see what they have to say. Millennials, researchers have found this generation generally sends and receives fewer texts than their younger counterparts, but their phones still spend plenty of time buzzing. Millennials send and receive a high volume of messages and generally expect quick responses. Gen X. This generation sends a moderate volume of text messages, and unlike their younger counterparts, they worry less about response times. Maybe they're busy watching the new Brat Pack documentary instead. Yeah, that's why I'm not Gen X. I don't even know what that means. And then baby boomers, this generation is getting a lot more conversant in texting, but they're not quite fluent. Baby boomers generally send and receive a lower volume of text messages than those in younger generations and are not as concerned about response times.
Yeah, like think about
I
it.
do.
How often do you get a text message from dad?
I think it depends on if you have children that you're communicating with or younger people that you're communicating with, not necessarily children. But I know that I respond differently or perform differently text-wise because I have a younger generation to communicate with.
Catering to your audience.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Like
Or
if I
learning from
need
my
something
audience.
from dad or I want to talk to him, I'm just going to call him because I know
Yeah.
that if he has the time, he's going to
Yeah.
answer his phone. If he
Yeah.
doesn't, he's going to call me back as soon as he does. Like
Yeah.
always.
Yes.
But I would
Right.
say in the last 4 or 5 years, I would say more often than not, if dad or I are sending each other a text message, it's like a little informative thing, but more often than not, it's like a TikTok or a Facebook reel.
Yeah.
And then we might
For
might
sure.
talk to each other later that day over the phone or in person and talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like we're not like texting each other like it might be like, haha, that was funny, or wow, that's really wild. And then we'll talk about it in person later.
Yeah.
Notes more than a conversation.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was
Headed your
gonna
way.
say, Dad got me the other day. He and I both play Strands on New York Times, the game, most mornings. Sometimes I get mad and just to hell with it. But he did it and did it really well. And I was really struggling. And he was like, "Do you want a hint?" And I was like, "Yes, of course I do." And I remember thinking, I was like, he never texts me via text messages. He never carries on a conversation via text message
that's
like this.
funny.
This is so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not a good texter.
Okay. The last section on our quiz is about understanding others. And these are the ones that kind of threw me for a bit of a loop. And I'm not 100% sure how we're going to translate these all to an audible podcast, but
Yeah.
we're gonna try.
Yeah.
So this conversation is between a Gen Z son and his Gen X mom. And we want to know if you think she's mad at him or not.
Here, Ma, I'll
Yeah, why don't y'all do
I'll
it?
read the son parts and you read the mom parts.
Okay.
Sarah's going to help me with my art assignment after work, and then I'll be home.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you mad? That's the whole interaction.
Is the mom mad at her son?
No.
No.
And I could tell you that from having conversations like this with mom, I would have known that she wasn't mad.
I was busy. I already, had context to go with this.
There's
Okay.
not any extra context that's needed. It's just your response. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
if I didn't
that
know
wasn't
who
okay,
Sarah was,
then
I
there
might
would
be
have been a
going,
follow-up.
I mean, I might have said, who's Sarah? Do I need to get hard
Right.
eyes out or anything? If I didn't know who Sarah was. If you were just telling me, hey, I'm going to do this after school, I'd be going, okay. I might say, when are you going to be home?
Sure.
What time's dinner?
But if there was that additional context needed, like you're not going to answer passive aggressively and
Right.
just be like, okay. No, you
No.
would be like, no, you can't do that. Or okay. And okay is, yeah, that's fine.
So I'm really curious why this would come off as passive aggressive.
Because he's used to communicating with other people in his generation where responses like those would be considered passive aggressive.
It's a short.
With the punctuation and
Yeah.
short.
Okay, period.
I mean, but it never would have gotten to the,
Oh.
is that okay? Are you mad?
No.
Again, I'm going to pick up the phone and be like, hey, is that cool?
Yeah.
And so that I can hear your tone. I want to hear your response to it if I need additional context.
Also true. I'm probably going to call in a scenario like that anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all agree that the answer is no. And the answer is no. The mom is just trying to be efficient and direct. This text exchange between Marketing expert Nikki Tonks and her son inspired her research. Her son later explained that he'd been worried that she was mad because of her short replies.
Okay.
All right. I mean, this feels like another one of those, like, millennials have such a bad rap of the participation trophies, and it feels kind of like along the lines of that, like, get over your feelings, move it along.
Yeah.
You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Okay. In 2022, the tech company Giphy pointed to the growing use of GIFs by this generation as it asked British regulators not to block a deal for its acquisition by Meta.
Every time I've taken this quiz and read this question, I'm like, what is this even asking?
Yeah, not a question, guys. And it's because they're not using proper grammar and all of these things, and it could all be accomplished if you were.
So the question is, which generation is using GIFs more? And I would have told you that would be millennials.
I would have said millennials too.
Yeah, I would have
Because
thought
baby
so as
boomers
well.
don't know how to use them, don't know how to get them. Gen X, I feel like they're just now starting. We're in 2025, and I feel like they're just now really starting. Millennials, we've been using, though, for a very long time, back in chat room days. And then you've got Gen Z, who I think they're avid users of GIFs these days. So I would have said millennials too,
Yeah.
and we would be wrong.
See, I don't think Gen Z uses GIFs that much.
Oh, I know a couple of Gen Z folks who can have entire conversations using nothing but GIFs.
That's how I am. Like, that's one of my favorite ways to have a funny conversation via text message is to just
Yeah.
respond GIF for GIF. I think it's hilarious.
I have to say, I'm very jealous and impressed because you guys can find the funniest ones really fast. They're always different. I mean, you don't use the same ones over and over and over again.
Oh, I do.
And they're always real appropriate. They're just funny. So I'm a little jealous that, and I every time I think, now, how are they searching for that? What term did they use to pull that up? So I
Sometimes
think that
you have to use 4 or 5 different search words to find the right one.
Right.
And I want to say, with this last Apple update, they moved that images.
They did.
So you have to open more to get, and that really ticked me off.
That's because you're a baby boomer who is trying to use GIFs more.
That's malarkey.
Okay. And then our next question is, how well do you understand Gen Z? Which, let me just go ahead and give you guys a heads up. I sucked at.
100%, baby.
Oh, really?
You got
Didn't
it
miss
right?
one. Yeah, I didn't miss a single one.
Oh.
Okay. We're matching up what each of these kind of slang shorthand is for what it means.
What with Gen Z?
With Gen Z. So YOLO, is that slaps? DIFTP, TEA, or a skull emoji?
See, I don't know what the P stands for, but it's do it for the
Plot.
plot. Okay. Yeah, that's YOLO.
I've seen it like
I
do
didn't
it
know
for the
that one.
gram.
That's what I thought of, do it for the gram, but
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
I guess that would have probably been more millennial than do it for the plot, but
Oh, yeah, probably. You're probably right. I mean, I guess because Gen Zers aren't on Instagram as much. They're somewhere else. So everything is for the plot rather than for the platform, which makes sense. GR8, the number 8.
great.
I do not like anybody who uses that.
Yeah, just spell great.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of still mad at Avril Lavigne for doing Skater Boy with an 8. And BOI.
But the
Weird.
answer is that slaps.
Yes. Okay. ROFL.
That one's the skull emoji because
Because
I'm
they're
dead.
dead. So funny that they've died. And then
Which
411.
does not really commute to me.
Again,
I mean, I know that's what it means, but it doesn't really. I'm like,
Laugh
no,
so hard I died instead of laugh so hard I
Yeah.
cried.
whatever.
It's just
And the
dramatic.
411 is T.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the T?
Spill
which
in the
is-
tea.
Goofy to me, but
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
A boomer
So,
showing again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we hit all of these. Do it for the plot, gained steam on TikTok in 2022. Slaps, roots in hip hop and has become more mainstream in the late 2010s. The skull emoji is to signify I'm dead and is used to convey laughter. And T, like many words now known as Gen Z slang, this phrase originated in Black drag culture. So there we go.
Well, there you go.
Okay, and then the last question we have is a true or false question. True or false? Millennials were the first generation to popularize smiley faces in text communication as emojis became increasingly popular.
This is another one that the answer doesn't jive with the question.
I agree wholly. I would say that, yes, millennials did popularize smiley faces in text, and emojis stemmed from that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because the answer that they give us here is that it's false because emojis were invented by a boomer in 1982. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that they were popularized then.
Right. So in my personal opinion, I think some Gen Zer wrote this quiz and I'm kind of annoyed about it.
100%.
Okay.
So with all of that said, what were your full results?
So on emojis, I was completely millennial. For punctuation, I was mostly Gen X with a dash of baby boomer. For style and etiquette, I was equal, everything but Gen Z. And for the last one, understanding others, I got 55% of the questions correct. So what was your percentage?
I got 45% of the questions I answered correctly in understanding others, but I think most of that is because I didn't understand what they were asking and their questions were bad.
Gotcha.
They were dumb.
Gotcha.
They were poorly written.
Yeah, 100%, which I guess is kind of boomery, but no. Emojis, I was equally Gen Z, millennial, and Gen X. Punctuation, mostly Gen X with a dash of baby boomer. And style and etiquette, mostly Gen X with a dash of millennial, which I get. I act a lot older than most of the people I hang out with.
That's true.
Especially when it comes to grammar.
So for emojis, I was mostly millennial with a dash of Gen X. Punctuation, I was equally millennial, Gen X, and baby boomer. Style and etiquette, I was mostly millennial with a dash of baby boomer. So now I'm really kind of confused. And then understanding others, I also only got 55% of the questions correct because I think that whoever wrote the questions was not communicating effectively.
Yeah, for communicator for sure.
Yeah. The heck, trying to screw us out of our texting age.
I think that's
Get off my lawn.
I think that's hysterical.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so Callie, I see some of the questions that you wrote up here, and I'm really interested. I think I know what one of your answers is, but one of them is how do you text? Like,
I'm a two thumbs texter.
I'm a two thumbs person. Unless I have something going on, I might like react using like one finger, or I may type in, if I've got like a short response, then I may just type it in with one finger, but
yes,
like every once in a while it'll be one thumb, but generally it's two thumbs.
99% of the time I'm a two thumb girl. Now, I'm with you. If I'm doing something in the kitchen and I need to respond, I might use my like pinky because it's not dirty or covered in something. I've mentioned this before, like I think in episode 1 when we had your weird thought about if our thumbs were on the other side of our hands. Ryan texts about 75% of the time with one index finger, his left index finger and his right thumb, which I think is the strangest thing.
Weirdo.
Now, when I was putting this episode together, I went and I was like, okay, what are all of the different options? So I was like, okay, two thumbs, one thumb, and then a thumb and an additional finger, both index fingers. I found a Reddit thread where they were like, oh, I am a hunt and peck texter, which made me laugh. And then voice to text, and then people using the swipe feature.
What does that mean?
So
you can go like this on the keyboard, and it will put the letters together.
Yeah,
Who
it'll kind
does
of like
that sometimes?
guess what you're trying to do. No, I definitely do not.
Do not put him in that category.
Never intentionally, but like if, I don't know, you can like slide it around, and it'll try and guess what you were trying to. Fumbled. Perfect.
Yeah,
I would never do that. I had to pick my phone up and think about this. So I am a tooth thumber until my nails get in the way, and then I'm gonna go to a finger to, get to the right one, or I'm gonna use my thumb to, use the space bar to move it to where I want it to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe a combination, but no, I'm not gonna do my thumb. Yeah, Ryan's kind of weird about that.
Maybe
so
because
wish I did voice to text more, but because of my accent, it doesn't. And so
screws
it's just
it.
It's faster to go ahead and type
Just
it out
type it
than it
in.
is to try. Now, I have a girlfriend who uses voice to text probably 90% of the time.
Does she use punctuation?
Not like you do, where you say, I period. No. And I don't think she corrects anything. And I know
what
that the
Preston
more you
does.
use that, the more it gets accustomed to you. But I still think
No,
my
not
accent
true.
is.
I don't think that is the case.
Oh, you don't think so?
No.
It doesn't
His are
read your
wildly
words
bad.
better?
No, his are wildly
Oh.
bad. Like,
Oh.
I would say at least 30 to 40% of the text messages that I get from him, I can tell when he's trying to use voice to text because it's so bad. And I can usually decipher what he's saying. And then I would say at least 30 to 40% of the time, I'll have to just be like, what?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is that WHUT?
Sometimes.
WHA? Or is that WHAT?
It's usually WUT. What? Or it's either what or try that one more time in English.
I say that to Mom often. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Try that again.
Yeah.
One more time, please.
And I'm not offended by that.
You have been on occasion.
Well, sometimes it doesn't.
How could I have made this more clear? I'm like,
Yeah.
you could have spelled the words. That would have been a good start.
Well, I generally have a caveat, but like some people say, I've done this voice to text, so please excuse me. But mine is normally, if I'm not wearing my glasses, I'm guessing at the letters. So, that's a challenge when I'm not wearing my glasses to text.
Oh, goodness.
That's one of the things, like predictive text in general. I have a wildly different vocabulary than most people. And so I don't think it works for me very well. Because especially with the swipey stuff, I'll articulate it and it's something completely different. And I'm
What you meant?
Not at all.
That's funny. Ugh.
I think I'm better now at predictive text than I used to be.
Every now and then I'll go on a roll and I'll be like, okay, Ryan, we're going to spend the next 2 minutes just texting back and forth using only the predictive text lines and just to see what it says. And we did it the other day and it ended up with some like really weird thing. And it was also using the Apple AI stuff because that's out now. And so it was like, thank you very much, friend. And all these like weird things. And you're like, yep, that sounds exactly like me. Not.
Touch on this one too.
Hit it.
Voicemail. I am a firm believer in leaving a nice voicemail for someone, even though I know they're never going to listen to it.
I am never going to listen to it.
I do it just to bug the people that don't listen to their voicemails, so they have to see that notification.
I don't mind the notifications at all. Doesn't bother me one bit. I think right now I have 288 voicemails sitting on my phone that I have never read or opened. I'm going to read the memo of it, like
I'm gonna read
dictation,
the memo.
but I'm not going to listen to it ever. Never, ever.
Yeah.
And I'm 99.9% of the time, at least, I'm addressed as Kelly. And then I just get
was
irritated.
Gonna say,
and I'm like,
so
okay,
often those are so full of, typos.
Crap.
Crap. That sometimes it's just fun to see, what are you getting on that? What are you leaving me on this? But just to see how they come out because they're just so far off.
Yeah.
It depends on who left me the voicemail, whether I'm going to listen to it or check the voicemail before I call them back.
I'm just going to call you back.
See, I started to say, I don't think I would leave a voicemail for any of you or even Dad, because as soon as y'all see that I've called, y'all are going to call me back.
Yeah.
So why, it doesn't do me any good to leave you a voicemail. Those are also the ones that I'm not going to listen to. If it's somebody, I'm just going to call them back.
Yeah. There's an efficiency thing in there for me. Like, I don't need the voicemail. I'm just going to call you back. We can have the conversation and then move on. I don't need the voicemail.
I
Yeah.
do it specifically to be a nuisance to my friends that I know who don't like to pick up their phone and don't check their voicemail, just to fill up their voicemail inbox to be a turd. Like that's like Preston
Right.
and Plumber specifically are who I'm going to leave voicemails for, just to be an ass.
So the moral of this episode is Cole is a pest.
Yeah, 100%.
Not news.
Also true.
Okay. So how do you find information? I thought this one
Well,
was really
hang
funny.
on. Before we get to find
Oh.
information, what about ignoring emails? Because like we talked about earlier, I if
Oh my
it's not
gosh.
a work email, I'm probably not reading it. And if it is a work email that I know, like I have my work Outlook, I've got rules set up so that if it's one of those automated messages that goes out to everyone in the company 17 times a day, it automatically gets flagged as read and thrown into a folder that I can and archived.
And do you
But I
ever
still
miss
have-
anything important?
No,
Okay.
Absolutely not.
no, because definitely not. Like I still have 1,000 unread emails in my inbox. Part of that is because I can look at the title of the subject line of the email and know whether or not I actually have to open it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we get so many emails. When before I had all of those rules set up, I was getting 75 to 100 emails a day.
Yeah, easy. I am an avid unsubscriber. I do not want this. Do not send it to me. Take me off this list immediately.
I wish that worked all of the time.
If it doesn't work, I will send them an email back and be like, I want to be removed from this list. Take me off of this list. I do not want these
Oh.
emails. I'm really weird about it. Leave me
Oh,
alone.
that's-
Get out of my hair.
100%.
That is interesting.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't like unread emails in that an unread email is my to-do list, especially
Yeah.
for work. I may read it and then I'll mark it back as unread because I know I need to come back and finish it.
Yeah, me
now,
too.
I also have a couple of different inboxes that I monitor and they get a little bit crazy. So like right now, I have 1,148 emails that are unread and I don't care. I am not bothered by that number. It's not 12,469 or something like that. I mean, and I'm just not worried about it. Yours is, isn't it?
This
How
is
many?
my second oldest email. It's one of my Gmails. It has 18,640 that I've never opened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what is that? Why do you have different Gmails?
I have one that, so I have a Yahoo that is my oldest email. And like anytime I even consider typing in any information for something that could be even a little bit questionable or that I think is going to get a bunch of emails pushed to it, it goes to my old Yahoo because it already has like 50, 60,000 plus unread emails.
My
And it
spam
has a-
inbox.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have my newer one, my second oldest, that has kind of somewhere in the middle that is like where most of my like subscription stuff goes, because I know they're going to send me a bunch of marketing stuff at this point. So like I know I can go there and find it really easily. But I also want all of that crap put together so that like I kind of have an idea as to where it is. And then I have a newer personal email, which is for like anything financial. All of those go to that particular email address. And then I have a business personal for like job applications or anything professionally related that goes through that particular email inbox, just so that I can keep it all separate and not have to go through and create the rules and answer. Because I mean, I might get 70, 80 emails a day in one of my crap ones, like no problem.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I, for years, only had a personal and a work one.
I think I have 5.
And I did not monitor the personal one very well. So that one had, 500 unread emails or something like that.
But you also didn't use it to sign up for anything.
Yeah, but I am with Callie. I unsubscribe pretty regularly. I definitely block pretty regularly. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And if I could figure out how to get off of the ones who have me on double so that I get, both two emails of the very same thing to the same email, I would love that. That would make me so happy.
Yep. I get that.
So one of your questions was, how do you find information? And I'm going to say to y'all shock me because you do use TikTok more as your search engine, I think, or at least Cole, I think you do.
Not very often. Every once in a while, like I may get
Okay.
a TikTok that I need additional context for, and then you can usually like go to the comment section and there's already a search in there for what other people also thought was additional context that was needed. And I may
Oh.
do that, and I may go search for, like, I'm like, hey, is there any gameplay video of this new game that's coming out? I may search there, but like if I'm actually searching for a specific piece of information, I'm going to use a search engine of some kind, not TikTok. I'm probably going to Google it. And if I can't get the information that I'm looking for there, then it'll at least give me a jumping off point to where I can go to find more information.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I love ChatGPT. We've talked about this and I've used it for lots of things, but I saw a short this week that said, if you Google something and you get 1,000 different options to look at versus going to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT only gives you one option, that it has narrowed us down on our thinking and our options, that we just automatically go to one thing so that that narrative can be confined to what they want us to know. And I was like, oh no,
Oh, yeah.
I'd never thought about that.
I have not had great luck using an LLM, a large language model, as a search tool, just for that reason in particular. I haven't used ChatGPT very much. I've used it very sparingly. But because I understand kind of the basic mechanics behind it, I understand that information, oftentimes, depending on what LLM you're using and what its inputs are, is more than likely going to give you a skewed result. Not that Google doesn't, but Google, I at least get to go through and say, okay, here's 100 different things that are maybe sort of close to what I'm looking for. And then I can go click through 10 or 15 of those and say, okay, this is what here is saying, this is what here is saying, this is what here is saying. And now I've built up a tighter inquiry that I can go through and look a little bit closer to try and find more.
I would say I don't use ChatGPT so much as a search engine. Like if I wanted to know who's the first president of the United States, I wouldn't go to ChatGPT. I'd go to Google. But when I'm going to ChatGPT, I'm really looking for something, to really narrow it down. And Callie, I mean, maybe that's to, give me something to go on my resume that includes this, 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 and this. So it's not that I'm really Googling for that or looking for a specific, it's much more narrowed focus when I'm going to ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm using ChatGPT as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Hey, here's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm not crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. Can you help me get those narrowed? Yes, that's exactly what I needed. I needed all of the wires to be connected and everything. And I'm definitely not using it as a search engine. But that said, I will ask for various ideas, again, as a jumping off point. Hey, I liked this and this and this movie or TV show. What should I watch next? And then it's going to come up and say, oh, well, based on those, that has this, this, and this in common. You might try these. And so then I can go to those services, to those movies, TV shows, and say, oh, yes, this does look like something I would like. Because if I'm looking for a new comedy, I can go on to Google or whatever search engine and say, hey, I need the best new comedy. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to enjoy it. It's not my sense of humor. That's exactly
what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's not my style. And so I'm going to ask ChatGPT because I can put in more context. This is kind of along the lines of what I'm looking for, this kind of humor. And B,
Yeah.
I'm just using it as that jumping off point to take that context and put it into the rest of the internet to say, oh, this is where she needs to start. And then I can go from there. So ChatGPT is just my jumping off point.
So when I get to that, I don't have this theory that, oh, they're brainwashing me through that.
I mean, I'm sure. I think that the same could be said of any media source. I mean, there's going to be bias in it, absolutely, and I think that ChatGPT does a better job of not of abstaining from bias necessarily, but of using what you put into it as a reference point. So I can go in and say, instead of saying, hey, I'm looking for a comedy, and it's like, here's all the ones on Netflix because we're associated with them financially.
Yeah.
I'll go in and say, hey, I'm looking for something on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu. Give me a couple from different ones. And so that it's using my bias kind of in my favor.
I would also say, I mean, I was using it for something this week and it goes, well, it looks like you're doing this. Would you like to tell me more about that? No. No.
Yeah, I get that.
And so I really see Google and ChatGPT as apples and oranges, not the same thing.
I agree.
And I would never, ever, ever go to TikTok to Google something.
Yeah, I would not go, if there was a topic that I wanted to learn about, I'm not going to go search for it in TikTok normally.
No.
If there's a TikTok specific reference, then I may go search TikTok to see, okay, what are they referencing here? Because I may be out of the loop on something. But if it's what is so-and-so's policy on XYZ, never is it going to be TikTok, because it's all going to have some inherent bias based on whoever is covering it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I take it back because I thought you both used TikTok to search stuff.
No.
I take it back.
No.
Okay. Does anybody still type www?
Occasionally. It depends, because certain websites are different based on the prefix that you use.
Yes.
Certain websites you can only get to the one you're trying to get to by using the correct prefix, and then some you don't need. So it depends, and you kind of have to learn as you go.
Yes.
I think that's so limited of ones that would require something different that wouldn't pop up in your search anyway.
Well, are you searching or are you going to the URL? Because those are two totally different things.
Well,
if you're searching for google.com, you can search google.com and it will come right up as a result. If you're going to google.com versus www.google.com, those may not be the same. That's a bad example because they most likely are, but my point is the same. And then the graphic designer in me likes to have some symmetry in the way that things look. So if I am printing it on something, 99% of the time, it will be www.url.com because I like the balance of it. Because you have to have the .com, because it could be .com, .gov, .org, and I like to have the balance of it.
And I could say in a publication, I would expect it to have www, but I would never, but even if I was doing that, I wouldn't type in www.
Yeah, I get that.
If it explicitly has www at the beginning of it, that's not really strictly needed anymore, because that's typically going to be the default for your address bar. But if it has something other than www, you more than likely want to include that other thing, or it could take you somewhere different.
Yeah, I would. I would in that case, but I just default without anything to see where I go first. So Callie is notorious for using her thumb to count. And so there it goes. And there is, I guess it's new. Is it new? What are the reactions? And maybe it's on the latest update or something. And it appears to only be for Apple products. But she is cracking me up because we're sitting here having a conversation and she'll do something. She'll go to count with a thumb and all of a sudden a thumb in a bubble is popping up. And so I'm just cracking up because she's not doing it on purpose at all. And at first she didn't even notice that it was happening. And until I finally said, why is that happening? And now it just cracks me up. And so she went and searched for us to get,
all the different ones.
Peace sign will give you confetti.
1 peace sign is balloons. 2 peace signs is confetti. A heart is hearts. A thumbs down is a thumbs down in a bubble. Then you've got the thumbs up. Then you've got, rock on
Is
gives me
lasers.
lasers. 2 thumbs down creates a storm cloud that follows me around. So it's just raining on me. And so we finally had to go and look because Mom was laughing so much because I'd be sitting here having a serious conversation. We're talking about something. I'm like, okay, so first we're going to do this and then we're going to do this. And all of a sudden it just pops up with this thumbs up. And she's laughing at me and I'm not watching my own video because I'm looking at my list of things that I'm counting off here. And so we finally had to go and look them up and see which other ones were out there, other gestures and things like that, animations for all of these video calls. And we're learning, but gosh, I can't quite figure out what the actual benefit relevance is of these things.
That's what I can't figure out.
They're just to entertain me.
And it's very successful at that.
Yes.
How many R&D dollars went into this to develop? Because if I'm holding a thumb up on my camera, you can see that I have a thumbs up. I don't need a bubble coming off the side of my head with the second thumbs up. Like, to me, it's just goofy.
Yes.
Well, and I really hate sitting in a meeting, like a WebEx or a Teams meeting, and all of a sudden hearts start popping up across the board. No, don't do that. I don't want clapping. I don't want hearts.
See,
Kelly,
like
clapping do something?
Those I kind of am okay with, because if you're in a Teams huddle and someone is saying something and you want to agree with it without interrupting them, then you can just send a little thumbs up, and everybody who agrees will get their little thumbs up come up.
I'm not buying
it. Maybe thumbs up, but I don't like hearts. If you're in a seminar or something and all of a sudden you start getting hearts and clapping, I'm like, oh.
I want to know what kind of seminars you're sitting in where somebody is throwing up hearts that it starts sending heart. I mean, because you literally have to make the sign with your hand.
Oh no!
Seriously?
If you're on WebEx, it's got a button.
Yeah,
you can.
It's like the same as a text message reaction, where they've got reactions built in now that you could click them. And so even if you're off camera, it'll just send this little heart up on the screen.
Oh, got it.
And normally you don't just get one. It's like, a whole...
a litany of them.
Yes.
Yeah, and see, like that I can understand. Because if everybody is off camera or if everyone is forced to mute, that's just a way that you can react to what someone has said.
Yeah.
But if you're on camera giving a thumbs up...
Yeah.
I don't really need you to send an emoji of me of a thumbs up. You can already see me.
Maybe hearts mean something different to me than what they do to other people, but I just feel like they're not appropriate in a business meeting.
Generally, I'm with you.
Okay, good.
Let's see if you can stay together on this one. Cole, hit us with your weird thought, sticking in our generational theme here.
Okay, yeah. So I was sitting there the other day and I don't know what made me think about it, but I started thinking about, like, I've never really been into cars. Like, do I appreciate a cool car? Absolutely. But never been something that I have identified myself by was the vehicle that I drove or my understanding of vehicles. Never, like, can I open up under the hood and learn how the mechanics on a car works and fix something? Sure, but like not something that I've ever been passionate about on any level. And I would say that, are there people in my generation that are that way? Sure, but not nearly as much as Gen X or baby boomers. And so I started thinking about why that is. And I have this hypothesis that the reason Gen X and baby boomers and those older generations are, and even the greatest generation, the boomers' parents, for them, I feel like it would have been writing. Like, that was something that they all did a lot to communicate with each other. And so that never really went away. And for boomers and Gen Xers, to me, I think that fixation, my hypothesis is that it comes from that particular thing being their conduit to the world. So like for the greatest generations, the way that they communicated across these great expanses was through writing letters. So that was their conduit to the world. They didn't have the same kind of access to media and TV that their children did. And so they all had this excellent penmanship, and it was not uncommon for them to write a letter to whoever they needed to write a letter to and ship it out. And if somebody sends you a gift, you write them a thank you card, a thank you note, and send it to them. That was a really kind of big deal, I feel like, for those older generations. Whereas when you move into baby boomers and Gen X, it's their cars. They all have almost this passion for the kind of car they drive, how much they drive. It means something. Where like me, I could drive a hoopty if it gets me from point A to point B. I don't really care. As long as it works, totally fine for me. And I get that not all millennials are like that. It was just kind of a weird thought that I had. And I think that I don't want to call it a fixation, but that passion for certain things. Like for me, I'm really, really interested in computers and technology and the advancement in phones and the new capabilities that they are coming out with, and video game consoles, and again, the new capabilities that they're constantly developing, and understanding the mechanics behind a network or behind a website, behind a program, things like that, understanding, okay, why is A plus B equals C, where I don't have that same kind of passion for a car or things mechanical, because to me, computers are my conduit to the rest of the world, where for mom and dad, their conduit to the rest of the world would have been their car.
I'm not sure that that's where I consider it, but my conduit, my car. I mean, because I drive a car now that's just a car. But BRT, which I drove for a really long time, but I mean, half of that was because it was a red truck, a big red truck.
But in your world, that big red truck was your avatar. That's what everyone else saw you as.
Yeah,
even the people that
part
didn't
of your
know
identity.
You.
So I was going to say, I think that part of that is because that generation worked on their own vehicles. They, if they wanted something spiced up, they had to do it themselves. So if they wanted a different motor, or if they wanted glass packs on it or whatever, they had to do that. Your generation does not work on cars. You take them to somebody.
Some people in my generation know how to work on their cars. It's just not as common.
But it's not common. But if you look at your dad's generation or your grandfather's generation, I mean, they did that because there wasn't another option. That generation did not just take their car to the mechanic because the mechanic wasn't that available or the money wasn't that available. They worked on their own vehicle. They did their own thing. And so I think out of that came a love of, hot rods or.
Sure, but why were those vehicles, why was doing that work so important to them?
I think it had more to do with the avenue to community. Yeah. What it is that takes you to yourself, your group, your generation, your avenue to community. And I think cars were a really good one. Everybody had one for the most part. You could do as much or as little to it as you wanted. And it took you to a place where you could all kind of have that camaraderie. Whereas where he's talking about millennials and things like that, our avenue to community is much more technology based. Let's talk about Facebook. Let's talk about MySpace. Let's talk about yearbooks and things like this. It's just what brought you together with your people. And cars don't do it the same way. I think that you can look at cars in a different light. There's more to do with cars and more options and varieties now than has ever been before. But because that's not our avenue to community, we don't seek it out the same way that maybe the baby boomer, the greatest generation did, because we're seeking different things. We're seeking the community of it. And so then you kind of transition to Gen Z to me, and how are they seeking community? They're seeking community via apps and finding their friends and all of these things, being connected on Snapchat and Bumble, finding new friends or dates or any of these things. How are they finding community? And so I think what he's talking about is the conduit to community, the avenue to get you together with like-minded people, what that looks like. And I think that in a lot of ways, boomers absolutely are the car. And you wanted to have a cool car and you wanted to do something with it, whether you could or not, because it had a part of your identity to present to the community. And I want to be known as this. I want to drive a big red truck. I want to be taller than everybody else on the road. And it meant something to you because it was your conduit to the community, to your community.
I mean, and I even remember you and Dad talking about like having CB radios and having your radio name. And like, to me, the coolness of your car and your radio name are no different than your username and your avatar on Xbox or whatever you want to play and communicate with the world with.
So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you've told that story on several occasions about you driving to Houston from Lubbock with the CB radio in the Mustang, and all these truckers were talking to you. It's the way in which you reached your community. And those truck drivers aren't your regular everyday community, but they were on that drive. And how you reached them, it was very dependent on that specific method of communication.
I don't know why we ever got away from that. If there was more communication between drivers these days, I would be half as stressed as I am.
I mean, we've just gotten really selfish. I'm the only one who counts. No. I'm the only one who matters. So screw everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's that. And I think it's the training that we're giving the kids who are driving
or lack thereof.
Yeah, the lack thereof. And I mean, I don't think we already have phones that are taking our focus away from the road. I can't imagine having a CB that you're communicating with or yelling at somebody with. That I don't know if that would work really well.
Well, if we had never gotten away from that and we were able to be in constant communication with the people around us, then I think that we would have a completely different caliber of drivers and community in general. Because you don't get to just hide behind your windshield and keep your windows rolled up.
That might be true. Yeah, that might be true.
If you're driving like an idiot, I can say, hey, stop driving like an idiot.
Yeah, but they might come back with you and say something to you too.
Have fun.
Oh,
gas station on the corner. Come on.
I don't want to hop out of the car and Cole be on the other end of that conversation, just for the record.
No.
Most people don't.
Most people don't. And if they think that they might, then he steps out the car and then they definitely don't.
Normally get right back in their car.
That's funny. Mom, find us some good news. What you got this week?
I got a sweet one this week. Chad Taverney is a retired police officer who bought an infrared drone. And it wasn't his intention, but what has happened from this is that he's finding lost dogs. So when the pets go missing in upstate New York, he doesn't just hang up flyers. He takes it to the skies. A retired state police officer investigator turned high-tech pet detective. He uses thermal imaging drone to track down runaway pups, lost cats, and even the occasional rogue farm animal. Take Aurora, a puppy who vanished into the freezing woods. Her frantic owners called Taverney, who swooped in, scanned the landscape, and found her wagging tail in the snow. Then there's Otis, a Vizsla, lost for 6 days until Taverney's drone spotted him stranded in a swamp. And for the truly daring rescues, he once hiked a mountain at 1 a.m. in a thunderstorm to save a husky named Echo from a ledge. Taverney, so far, has rescued 40-plus dogs, and his work has been covered by multiple media outlets. The drone footage of his searches is incredible. Watching a lost pet appear on the screen like a glowing beacon in the night never gets old. Charging $300 to $600 per search, Taverney's drone detective work has made him a hero to pet owners. His secret weapon? Cutting-edge tech years of tracking experience, and a well-timed dose of sweet baby talk to lure nervous pets home. If you need his help or want to follow along on his rescue missions, you can find him on his Facebook page called North County Drone Search and Rescue.
It is so cool. I got on his page the other day and was starting to look at things like what do you post on a Facebook page about, hey, I'm here to help find your dog. But because of the technology that he's using, it's almost like you would see in a Homeland episode. It's all of this drone footage of everything, but then you add the infrared aspect of it. So it's all one solid color. And then there's just this one little spot. And it's like, oh, then he changes the lens on it, I guess. And so instead of it being infrared, it's an actual picture. And here's Aurora wagging her tail, sitting in the middle of this field. It's just the coolest thing. And so he's done a really good job at kind of putting that out there to share. And I mean, what a great word of mouth tactic and skill to get your services out there. From everything I saw, he wasn't looking to take up a job, but they were like, hold on, I know a guy who has a drone. I'm going to call him. And then the word of mouth, like I said, just kind of got carried and expanded into all of these different things. And so following his Facebook page has been really cool. And he's adding various news articles and things that, like, the New York Times has come out with something, and a couple of other people, We Rate Dogs, they covered him in a story that they had done. And I mean, it's just really sweet. He's taking and using all of his professional skills that he's retired from and putting them to such a great use. Finding pets. I mean,
your
so
pet.
cool.
Fun story.
Really fun. Well, y'all got anything else we got to hit this week before we let their ears stop bleeding?
I love you both.
Hopefully not.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.